Graduates, thank you for this invitation that you have extended to me today to offer this reflection at your commencement ceremony. I am touched and honored to be asked to speak today. And on behalf of all of the faculty of the Franciscan School of Theology, I offer warm congratulations on your achievements in completing all of the requirements for your master's degrees. Today, I would like to take a few minutes to reflect on this charge that Father Ga, as the Franciscan Provincial, conferred on you. As graduates of this school, now holding master's degrees, you have been charged with all the privileges attached to these degrees. I want to ask you a pointed question. Now, I know all of you have been in classes with me, and you know how I like to put you on the spot. But don't worry, I'm not going to ask you to respond out loud. But I do want you to reflect on what do you think these privileges entail? And what will you do with these privileges? Now, by definition, privilege means a right or a prerogative granted as a benefit or an advantage, especially from holding an office or having a particular station in life, in your case, in having a degree. With the advantages and benefits that come with a master's degree, many opportunities may very well come to you now. Opportunities that may lead to success, upward mobility, honor, and respect. And yet, the Franciscan understanding of privilege is nuanced in a way that all of these things, success, upward mobility, and all of the rest, are quite different from how much of the world defines them. Within the Franciscan family, among the friars, the sisters, and the laity, privilege is couched in a particular understanding of poverty. This poverty goes well beyond the material poverty and the poverty of resources that I know you have experienced and I know you have witnessed at FST. But this poverty means more than a classroom without whiteboard markers that work, although you likely experience that. Poverty even means more than the personal stewardship many of you nurtured in order to juggle bills with stagnant income. And it even means more than taking a vow that is announced to the world by wearing a habit. This privilege of poverty, this privilege that Francis and Claire and so many laity dedicated their lives to, rests in a foundation of humility that warrants our careful, very careful consideration today. Today, in the midst of this ceremony that is taking place in this beautiful, historic mission church, where conversion to the Christian faith has occurred in both peaceful and complex ways. Today, in the midst of this ceremony for which some of us wear academic robes, which are vestiges of medieval academic and clerical privilege that have allowed scholars prestige and legal immunities in university towns for centuries. This ceremony offers a threshold for you to choose the kind of privilege you are going to accept as a result of the years of studies you have completed. There is a range of meaning that can be brought to our understanding of privilege. That range extends on one extreme to mean a self-indulgent acceptance of honor and compensations that can often seduce people into a sense of entitlement. On the other extreme, there can be an exaggerated sense of humility that rests in timidity, either real or feigned, that expresses privileges with fear and self-consciousness. Neither extreme characterizes the Franciscan sense of privilege. While this Franciscan sense of privilege is simple, it is not easy to live out and can be best illustrated by way of a story. And it's a story that many of us know pretty well. The people of the town of Gubbio in the 13th century had for decades experienced a peaceful, pleasant life, when suddenly they felt terrorized by a wolf who lived outside the town in the woods. The wolf came into the town first and attacked sheep, killed the sheep, ate the sheep, then wandered into the town further and threatened children, attacked children, and then even adults. The people of the town experienced rage, panic. They sought revenge, as you might imagine. They tried to hunt the wolf, but were unsuccessful. And so they sought Francis of Assisi, who had a reputation as a peacemaker. Many people knew Francis. They asked him to come to town to find a solution. And as he approached the town, he walked in and stood among the people. He heard their fear. He heard their rage. He heard their anxiety. And he asked them what they wanted him to do. He considered their emotional state, and then pursued the wolf on his terms. He entered into the woods, not armed with weapons, but with just his self. In time, he found the wolf, and you can imagine that first moment of anxiety and curiosity. In time, Francis was able to negotiate with the wolf in order to understand what was happening with the wolf. The people of the city had experienced fear. Francis asked the wolf, "Why are you creating this fear?" And the wolf responded, "I'm only hungry. My pack has abandoned me, and I am hungry." Over time, Francis and the wolf negotiated an agreement. If the people of Gubbio were to feed the wolf, would he stop terrorizing them? Yes, the wolf said. And Francis walked back into the town, the wolf healing at his feet. The people were amazed. They marveled and asked how Francis had tamed the wolf. And Francis said, "Oh, I merely brought myself to the wolf to listen and understand his perspective. Who I tamed was you." In this story, we see Francis navigating through the anxiety and anger of the townspeople, not being swayed by their gossipy stories of terrorizing, vicious outsider. Instead, Francis listened to the villagers' complaints. He asked them questions in order to understand their fears. He stood as witness to their anger, pain, and suffering. Similarly, as he encountered the wolf, he could have brought with him all the fear and the anxiety the people had vented. He could have been tense and prepared to defend himself by carrying weapons. Or he could have been timid and fearfully approached the wolf, but he did neither. He brought his full self in front of the wolf without trepidation or revenge, without timidity or rage, instead filled with compassion, that capacity to be with suffering. He opened his heart, laid himself open and vulnerable, and sought to understand rather than judge. Compassion is at the heart of Franciscan privilege. Presence with suffering, presence with those you disagree with. The education you have pursued here at the Franciscan School of Theology has challenged you to cultivate a curiosity, not only of the intellect, but also of the heart. And contrary to what many think, this curiosity of both intellect and heart requires great boldness. The boldness to be present to those different from us, the boldness to be present to our true selves. And this is where so many of us get caught up in this Franciscan understanding of poverty. We have so few models of real humility, real poverty, that we think that Francis was timid when he approached the wolf. But we misrepresent and get confused if we think being Franciscan is about playing small. A humility and a poverty that stems from playing small out of timidity, that is a caricature of this Franciscan privilege of poverty, this Franciscan privilege of compassion. In fact, it takes much courage to be ourselves, to be vulnerable to misunderstanding and critique by exposing our hearts. It takes much courage to encounter others who are different from ourselves when we are this vulnerable. All around us in the world, we are told to be afraid of this kind of vulnerability and to defend ourselves. We may very well be tempted to run away from the work that is ours to do. But here, the wise words of Marianne Williamson force us to rethink any tendencies we might have to shrink from the responsibilities we have from the privileges we have earned. She writes, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. No, our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be intelligent, gifted, competent, even expert? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it is in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others." Unquote. Graduates, this light of yours is at the heart of compassion. Your education here has taught you that the most important privilege that your Franciscan degrees carries is that of compassion. Hold that privilege close to your heart. Practice it and cultivate it. because this, most of all, is what our world needs from you. God bless you on your journey.